Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. So excited for our next guest. Kiersten's joining us. That's Kiersten Tharp. She's the owner of Great Days Event Planning, based out of Fayetteville, Georgia. I'm excited to talk to her about all her personal wedding and event planning and all that she does. I got to scope you out and kind of stalk you on social media before to see the work you do, and it's amazing. And I'm excited you're
Thank
with us today.
you.
You are
Thank you
welcome.
so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having
Great.
me.
Well, Kiersten, first and foremost, tell us the name of the company and how we can contact you.
Yeah, my company is called Great Days Event Planning. I'm out of Fayetteville, Georgia, which is about 20 miles south from Atlanta. You can reach me on my website, which is greatdayseventplanning.com. My cell phone number is 304-203-2481. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and The Knot.
Beautiful. And you serve which area specifically? Would you
That
mind
is
just
south. It's south of Atlanta.
okay.
So I serve. I try to stay in the Fayette, Coweta County areas, which is just south of Atlanta. But I am willing to travel. But that's kind of my sweet spot.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're excited to get started to talk about all these events and
Yeah.
parties and weddings that you plan. But I always think it's first to dive into getting to know you, my new friend. So,
Yeah.
Kiersten, I want to know where you were born and raised, and tell us a little bit about, how this whole career path evolved. So, give us a little of your background, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I'm actually from West Virginia, born and
Okay.
raised, and from a small town called Philippi. It's north central West Virginia. If you're familiar with college football, it's about an hour south of
Yep.
Morgantown, where the Mountaineers
Hmm.
play. And born and raised there. Both of my parents were classical musicians and taught music on the collegiate level. So that's kind of the world that I grew up in, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
And then I
Did you
moved down
play any
here.
instruments too?
I did. Yeah. I have two older brothers, and the three of us were kind of forced to start playing piano
I
at the
was
age
going
of
to say
5.
you must have been because if you're in the
Yeah.
field, if you're Tom Brady's son, you're going to play football. Like it's kind of how it works. At least,
It
at
really
least you
is.
try it. Doesn't mean you continue with it. But so you are
It's
all
true.
trained too?
Yeah, I'm not classically trained. I'm still
Okay.
professional.
But you are
But
trained. I put a piano in front of you. You could sit there and
it's been a minute. It's been a
okay.
minute. I
Okay.
would
So
have
that's
to be
like I
like, I
took
gotta
Spanish for
practice
five
first
years.
before I.
Okay, good. All right. Some people get it, some people don't. Some people have this innate
Yeah,
ability and talent. We all have our own ability. So your parents clearly were musically inclined. What about your
they
siblings?
were.
Did they go
Yeah,
into the
and
music field too or no?
they just basically said, all we want for you is to just do your best and to do what you love. And that was kind of the world that I grew up in.
Great.
Because both of my parents, like, they knew that they wanted to be musicians. But they didn't obviously know what direction to go in, because there are a lot of different directions you can go in as a musician. But I knew I didn't want to be a musician. Like, I didn't have that. Like, don't get me wrong, music is part of my soul, but it's not my passion. So like it was with my mom, especially. So, so I kind of didn't know what direction to go. So I ended up majoring in communications. Because I was like, I can talk, like I can. I think I'm pretty good at being personable. And I learned a lot doing that degree, because I ended up doing speech and debate team. I ended up doing theater, a whole bunch of different stuff that involved all of my communications learnings. So from there, I did a whole bunch of menial jobs, like I was a waitress, I was a hostess, I worked at Cold Stone, like kind of different stuff like that. And I'm like, this isn't really my career. Like, I still had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, all I knew was I wanted to get to work. I knew I didn't want to go back to school. So, but I also worked at a marketing, a public theater in Morgantown, as a marketing assistant. So like, I had customer service and marketing under my belt. And I knew my future wasn't in West Virginia. Like, I knew that in my gut.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to move. So I quit my jobs. I had 3 part-time jobs at the time. So I quit it all. I packed my bags, and the day after New
Wow.
Year's of 2014, I moved down to Georgia. I have family here. It's not like I chose like a place on the map or anything. And a week later, I got a job as a receptionist at a car dealership.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And
I love this.
yeah,
You are a woman of many talents. Keep going. Keep going.
yeah. So, so I did that for about 6 months, and they were like, "You need to be doing more than what you're doing. You're really good with customers. You should be in sales."
Did
And I'm
you?
like, I didn't, yeah. So I did car sales for
I've
6 years.
thought about doing that. How was it? Is it stressful? Is it lucrative? Is it?
It's okay. So this is as a female.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is a man's world that we're talking
Totally.
about. Um, the really really nice thing about car sales is that the average person does not trust a man when it comes to buying a car. They trust a woman. So right, I know.
I feel the same way. I'd rather
Yeah,
go to the girl and it helps that you're pretty too, but you're just blessed and everyone's innate beauty.
but
But I agree. So did
yeah,
you get a lot of sales?
I did. Yeah, but I also worked a good 60 hours a week,
Oh,
easy.
okay. Okay. You got to really
And
put in that time,
oh
late
my gosh,
nights, the
and
weekends.
when you're 100% commission,
Yeah.
like
Oh, that's
you have
scary,
to
but
be
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be there to make money.
Got it.
Um, so easy, 8:30 to 10:30, just about every night.
Got it. Wow.
So it's not really ideal if you have like little kids and like a small
Yeah,
family,
I
like
do.
fortunately at the time, like I didn't have a family. I had been the really, really cool thing is this is kind of a side note.
I want to hear about the
Um,
family part too. I don't know. Yeah.
so my the day that I got my receptionist job, um, I remember thinking like I'm ready for a serious relationship. I was like, I'm finally ready for this. And the next day, I met my husband at work.
Goosebumps. Did he walk in or he worked there?
He worked there.
My gosh, I have
He
such
worked
goosebumps.
there. Yeah, he was the porter. He was managing the lot, organizing everything, checking in new cars. Um, so like we ended up becoming like the Jim and Pam of the dealership. Like
Oh my goodness, how
it was
adorable is
it
that?
was
And this was
really
how many
cool.
years ago now?
This was 2014, so this was 10
Oh,
years ago.
awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so like we ended up, you know, I personally loved working with my husband. Like, and that's kind of like the only environment that I knew with him anyway, so it's kind
Hmm.
of really cool. Like I understand when people say, I can't work with my spouse. I just can't do it. I'm like, I get it, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed working with mine. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I went into car sales and I did retail for about 2.5 years, 3 years, and then I moved to the commercial department, and did that for another few years until COVID hit.
Wow. And
Um, so
you
that
got
in itself is
married?
yeah, oh yeah, duh.
When?
Yes, we
When?
got married.
Well, okay, well, you said husband. I just want to make sure because I'm assuming
Yeah,
and I want to know the connection of how you got into the event planning
yeah,
aspect. Did your
yes.
own wedding have anything to do with it, or?
It was actually like the seed that was planted.
Wow.
Because we were together for about a year, and I was like, I know he's the one.
Ah,
Like it was just a matter of just like waiting. I even like designed my own engagement ring and sent him a picture, and he was like, you can't pick out your own engagement ring."
ah.
But he gave me the one that I wanted anyway. But the day that he proposed, I told him I don't want to be proposed over dinner. Like
Yeah.
I wanted something more personable than that. But he took me to my favorite restaurant, and the whole time I was talking about all of these plans I had in my head of
Oh
how
my
I wanted
goodness.
our day to go,
Yep.
and like special things that I wanted to happen and things like that.
Hmm.
And so he paid, and I said, "So you better propose to me really soon because I have all these things I need to put into motion." And he just kind of smiled. And then right next door to the restaurant was a gazebo all lit up in lights. And he took me over there and got down on one knee and had the ring right in his hand.
What a cry. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really,
Wow.
oh my gosh, it was so romantic. But yeah, so we got married in May of 2017.
Okay.
Between, we were engaged for about a year and a half, which was perfect. I tell all my brides, like, if you can help it, don't
Okay.
get married in like 3, 4 months. Don't do it. Like
Too
it's
stressful,
expensive.
right? Yeah.
it's expensive. You need to enjoy being engaged because you're only going to be engaged once, or at least that's the goal.
Yeah.
So you need to enjoy that time together. But and I'm so glad I did it that way. So I put everything together. I'm the one who planned it all. I didn't have a day of coordinator. I had me. um,
Amazing.
so I worked with the venue. Like they're the ones who set up and decorated and everything. And all the vendors too. But I was the one to like tell everybody, okay, you need to be here at this. Like this even happened, literally
Yeah.
happened. I was after the pictures were done with all the family and everything. We did a first look, and after the pictures were all taken, I gathered everybody who was involved in the wedding, and I said, okay,
Hmm.
you need to be here at this time. You need to make sure you do this. Don't forget to do that. Like I was telling
You're like,
everybody what
wow,
they
I
needed to
got
do.
this. And you're like in charge and you're loving this. This is like, I like telling people what to do. I
Oh
like
my
a
God.
beautiful outcome. I want things perfect, like most
Yes.
brides do. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But like I burst, like I just kind of stopped
Oh my
and
gosh.
I burst it out and I said, I need to do this for a living. Like,
So
and
that day you said that, oh my
that I blurted that out. Like, it's just this like, of course, like, duh. And it was
wow.
funny because everyone standing around me was like, yeah, you do. Like, this is what you need to be doing. Um,
Amazing story.
Yeah. So from then on, there were people from the dealership that were there. So they saw like how really well I did with planning everything and
Yeah.
executing. So they were like, "Hey, can you plan this for me? Hey, can you plan that for us?" And I had other family members asking me to do the same thing. I even planned the dealership's Christmas party, and there were about 150 people for that. And it was so much fun. I enjoyed doing that more than my actual job. Um, and so yeah, so COVID hit 2020.
Wow.
And so I ended up getting COVID in March of 2020
Oh, you were
when
one of the first.
I was one of the first, when everything exploded.
Just
Um,
how was it? Were you okay? Like what? Oh my gosh. I don't want to digress on this, but
no,
I
no,
got to
no,
get
no,
to
no,
know
no, no,
you.
no.
We have a
This
few
is
shows
part of my
together, right?
this
Kirsten,
is kind of part of my this is a big part of my story because
yes,
like
good.
um like this leads to so many different things. So when I got COVID, I almost died. Um, I
Ugh.
I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything except be a vegetable. And I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell. And because of that, nobody would test me for about a month, which was very frustrating. Um, my my husband Chris and I just kind of sat there at one point, like, what do we do? Um, and like we debated, should I just go to the hospital? And we we kind of went through the pros and cons of that, and I realized, like, first of all, he would not be able to go in with me and I would be there by myself. He would never be able to
Wow.
visit me. Who knows if I would ever see him again. um,
Wow.
and also I knew I would be on a ventilator. Who knew if I would be able to get off that?
My
um,
gosh.
and a month prior we had just become debt free.
Wow.
All of our, like, so we were like, if I go into the hospital, I'm gonna rack up all of these medical bills. Um, so we decided that Chris would stay home until I was able to get around, and that took a month.
Wow.
Um, like there were multiple times I would, because I'm stubborn, there were multiple times I would try to get up the stairs
Ah.
by myself and I would pass out on the stairs. I just couldn't do it.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, it was scary. It was really scary. Um, I remember my mom calling me all the time because she's still in
Oh,
West Virginia, and she would call me all the time, being like, "Are you okay? You know, like, tell me what's going on." And I couldn't speak. I would talk for 5 seconds, and I would be like, you know, just couldn't do it. Um, but anyway, so this is the other thing about working in the car industry. You're there to make money,
yes.
and your bosses are strongly encouraging that you are at work all the time. Now, when I was sick, my boss wasn't very understanding of the fact that I was
Not
like on my
realizing what
deathbed.
was to come in the whole world.
Yeah,
No
and of
offense,
course, like
boss, but really? That,
I'm fighting for my life here. Like, I think that's a little bit more important than me
yeah,
earning some money.
yeah.
Sorry. Um, and there was a lot of like conspiracy theories, like, oh, this isn't real, things like that happening. Um, so of course that was out there, but I'm like, this is real.
Yeah.
I don't fake this. Um, and so it got to the point where he would reach out to me multiple times a week and be like, when are you coming back? And I'm like, I finally I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So I put in my resignation in June of 2020. And then I was in recovery. I was fully recovered in October of that year. So from March to October, I was a vegetable, basically, like trying to recover, trying to speak, yeah, it was bad.
I'm so sorry you went through this, but
Yeah. So while
wow.
everyone was at home, like stuck at home with their siblings or siblings, with their spouses or their kids or whatever, working from home, I was fighting for my life. I was one of those people. Um, but the silver lining for all of this was
Oh,
that at the end of my recovery, I got pregnant. And I, you know,
I
it
didn't
just
know all this
happened.
background about you. Wow.
I know. So before I got sick, my husband and I have been trying to have a baby for a little over a year. And during which time I had a miscarriage. So like after I got better, toward the end of me getting better, I got pregnant and it was like it was all meant to be because if I hadn't left my job, it's very possible that we would not have started to try again.
Wow.
Yeah. So um obviously the nurses and doctors were like paying very close attention to me during that time. And Chris wasn't able to be at any of my appointments. He didn't get to hear the heartbeat. Like that was really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I gave birth in May of 2021 to our daughter Katie. She's 3 now.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
yeah, she's remarkable. Um, and I was a stay-at-home mom for about a year, um, during which time I really, really struggled with PPD, postpartum depression. It was very, very severe. And I went through tons of like different medications and like lots of ups and downs for that whole year. So that was really, really tough.
Oh,
Um, and then when I finally, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just like
no, no. I'm just,
telling you my life story now. Um, and I started to feel more like myself after about a year. And I'm like, this whole stay-at-home mom thing is not for me. I'm a career woman. Like, I'm meant to be working. Don't get me wrong, like I love my daughter with all of my heart, but that's just part of who I am as being a
wow.
mother. Other part of me is being a career professional.
Yep.
But I still had no idea what I wanted to do. And I'm like, do I go back to the car business? No, I'm not doing that. And it was a few months later, it was August of 2022, that my cousin, who lives in Tyrone, about 20 minutes from me, was like, hey, can you plan my daughter's surprise engagement party? Um, and I was like, absolutely.
Yeah. I have talent. I remember I used to
I was
have
like,
a life
yes,
before
I
my
love
daughter.
that.
I have a 7 and 9 year old. I know how you feel.
Yes. So
This is
it's
what
so I was like,
inspired
I
you.
put it all together as we were decorating and everything. She pulled me aside and she said, I'm serious. You need to start your own business. This is what you need to do. You are really good at it. You love it. You're able to work from home so you can
Wow.
raise your child while doing this. And it was like the stars aligned. And I'm like, I can do this. Absolutely. So like the next day I just jumped in head first and I haven't looked back.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah. So like my life has been kind of like a butterfly effect almost. Like one thing affects the other, it affects the other, it takes me to the next, like to where I am now. It's pretty
Well,
incredible.
God bless you. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. Sorry I talked so much, but like
No,
that's
it's okay. Well, do we have more shows coming up? I hope so.
I hope so.
Me too. But at this time, I just want to make sure we remind everyone who we're talking to, if you are just tuning in,
Yeah.
Kiersten Tharp can be reached at greatdayseventplanning.com. And now, I mean, we only have 6 minutes left. My goodness, it goes
Sorry.
so
Oh my
fast.
gosh, I
It's
talk so
okay.
much. I'm so sorry.
No, we're going to do more shows. We're going to get this down. Now, let's talk about the current work you're doing and this beautiful company. And I've seen all these beautiful pictures and I'm still online looking at them. So now you evolved to this amazing planning company, which is a lot of weddings, not just weddings, engagement events, baby showers, bridal showers. You're doing it all, right?
Yes,
So,
I am. I do specialize in weddings.
mhm,
That's where my heart is. And I mean that's the day that all brides dream of, all women dream of for their entire lives.
yeah.
So that's super, super personable to me. But I do also parties, any party, any corporate event I've also done. Basically anything in between, any sort of planning an event, I'm there.
Well, I love the fact that you say, because I've never had an event planner that I've known ever say the word. My job is to take the stress away from you, right? You
Yes.
always say that. And
Yes.
I'm like, that makes sense. That's what an event planner should be because I get stressed over everything in my life, let alone planning my son's little communion last year. It was like
Yes.
stress, the invitations, the linens. I'm like, what is
Mhm.
this? I'm like, it's not worth having this party. It's
Yeah.
not. It physically eats me alive. I'm one of those people. Here you are, you come in and bam. Tell me
Yeah.
the role of an event planner. What are some of the things you can do to help people with their weddings?
Yeah. So for weddings in particular, I do day of coordination for the entire day, from beginning to end. I can decorate the venue or multiple venues if you're getting married in one place and having a reception in another. I can do the table and chair setup and breakdown with my crew. I can do cleanup. I can book all your vendors for you, from my preferred vendor list of local vendors that I've worked
Mhm.
with, whom I trust, and bring their A game every single time. Or if you want to book your own vendors, that's fine. You would just give me all of their contact information. I would be their point person. Um, and I can also create the event timeline, manage the wedding rehearsal. I meet with a
Yes.
lot of my brides, typically once every week or every 2 weeks, to kind of go through everything that they've done. Okay, let's move on to your next to-do list. So that way we can break up everything. So that way they're not like super, super overwhelmed with a bajillion things that have to be done.
So, and
Um,
clearly, you have all these contacts in your book
mhm.
from the entertainment aspect to the people with the invitations to the chair or table rentals if it's outside to
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, and I also am very one thing that I did that I'm really, really glad I did, the very first thing that I did when I started my business was I went around to different venues within an hour radius of me. So that way I was familiar with all of the venues. I met all of the owners. I knew their price points. I knew obviously what styles every single venue was. So that way I was like, I know the area. I know what kind of
Yeah.
space you're looking for if you're still looking for a venue. So I can help with that
Uh-huh.
too.
Awesome. My goodness. And you also, I noticed, do day of coordination as well, which to
Mhm.
me, that's too stressful. But and for someone who says they don't really need this type of help, what do you do during the day of? What does that entail?
Yeah, day of is probably the most important part, honestly. So it is guaranteed something will go wrong day of.
Okay.
Every single time I have yet to have a wedding that something did not go wrong.
Hmm.
And that's what a day of coordinator is there for, to kind of to put out those fires, make sure that all of the vendors get there and on time. And if somebody is late, if we're running behind schedule, you can change up the schedule. You have to adapt with what's going on. And it happens every single time. That's why you create the timeline, and that's why you have to create enough time in between certain things, or give something too much time so that way you can adjust accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to obviously tell, like, the bridal party, hey, you need to be here at this time. Hey, you need to be doing this, just like I was doing on my wedding. And you're kind of hurting sheep
But
also. Like
were
the
you herding sheep again? Were you, and I'm assuming you have an assistant or two or three, like this is not just you, is it? Or
I have
on
a
the bigger
crew.
events, a crew. Yeah, that's the
I
word
have
I'm
a
looking
crew.
for.
If I also have to decorate and do all the table chair setup, I
Mhm.
have my crew members come in with me because there's no way I could do all that by myself.
Beautiful.
But when it comes to just day of coordination, that's
Yeah.
just me.
All right. Well, do you offer an initial consultation if someone's interested to reach out? Unfortunately, we are out of time.
I'm
How does
so
it work?
sorry. I talked
Uh,
way too much about myself.
No, it's important to get to know you. This is what an amazing story. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
next time we can, if we're doing another Zoom, we could show
Yeah,
some of your work, some of the venues. I would
perfect.
love to share your screen and see. So in the
Yeah.
meantime, if someone wants to reach out for initial consultation, how does that work?
You can reach out to me on my website.
Mhm.
My website is greatdayseventplanning.com. You can message me through there. You can email me. My email address is ktharp@greatdayseventplanning.com. You can call or text me if you want to. My number is 304-203-2481. You can
Beautiful.
message me through Facebook, Instagram. I mean, I'm always here to help in any way I can. So if somebody has any questions or is looking for help, that's what I'm here for.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for
Oh, thanks
sharing
for
your
having me.
story with us and what inspiration. And please don't forget to check her out on social media, see some of these amazing venues. And, oh my goodness, beautiful stuff. I want to talk more because everyone loves weddings. I've never been married. I'm still dreaming about my wedding. So maybe I'll visit you one day if I come down to your area.
Come on down. I'll help you out.
Thank you so much. All right. You have a great day and hopefully we'll
You
connect again
too.
soon. Okay.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.